Bonjour les amis! NECAT and our super crew of teenagers are here at Tennessee Foreign Language Institute. Executive Director Janice Rodriguez is going to tell us all about the foundation behind their work and how they make our community better. Show us around?
Absolutely. Bienvenidos a todos. Vamos.
It's our Nashville.
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 We all know how to talk about our organization during meetings, but what about the chance encounter of a lifetime? You never know who may share your next elevator, notice your logo on a notebook or a tote bag, and ask what you do. What's the clearest, most persuasive thing you can say in a short elevator ride?
Language access is our story, really. We work to equip, an individual or a business with whatever language needs they might have. So, if you're looking to conduct global business or just reach out into the community and talk to the people that are here that are from different countries, we've got you covered. We can help your employees learn languages, including English as a second language, because we got a lot of new arrivals here in the community. And we can help you with translation and interpretation services, and if you feel like that language services is a professional path that you want to pursue, we can help you train to become either a professional interpreter or to teach English as a second language or to teach a foreign language.
Janice, you and I have both been to a lot of different cities in the world, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Seen a lot of different cultures, been in a lot of different sort of social situations and different cultures, different environments. As much as I've kind of run around in the language world my whole life, I've never heard the term language access. That's what it is.
Right.
Language in and language out.
Exactly. And linguistic access is so important in so many arenas.
That's right. There's so many things that we do in our day-to-day lives. We were chatting just a minute ago off camera, the two of us, healthcare for our aging parents and our grandparents, right. and child almost has a car accident, and you need to. There are logistical things
right.
as part of a community that you need to do. Setting up a doctor's appointment is not easy for my parents. They're older.
Right.
What if English was not my parents', your grandmother's, your daughter's native language,
right.
and they had to navigate these systems in our community?
And the contributions that people make who have come here, they're really wanting to assimilate and be a part of the community. And it takes a while. It takes a while to learn a language. If anybody, if you've studied languages, and I have too. So it's really one of those things that while they're making that transition, while they're learning their new community, it's about assimilating and making them feel welcome, and providing them with access quicker so that they can return, back to the community that they love, with jobs, with things, with other cultural contributions that they're going to make, and make us all richer for it.
Sure.
Culture is transmitted through language oftentimes, and you don't really start to appreciate or understand somebody's culture, understand where they're coming from, until you start understanding their language. The way that that phrases are, put together. But just the richness of understanding when you talk and when you don't talk in a certain situation, and how you phrase, how you communicate with what register of speech you would use with someone.
How formal or informal.
Right.
Sure.
Right. And you learn that through language oftentimes. This is the way that we express ourselves. And if you're in Europe doing business, you're going to run into people. They're going to speak English to you. But once you're going to understand a little bit more, about the German mindset once you study German and how the business meetings are conducted, and so you're going to enrich, even if you don't ever speak in that context in German. Just having an understanding a little bit more of that will go a long way to better communication between the two parties.
Sure. It's a sign of respect.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some of the things that you guys do at TFLI. I know there's one that I really want to hear you describe for us. what do you do with taxi drivers? You have a cab program, taxi program that I find fascinating.
Yeah, we are partnering with the Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau and to put together it's a hospitality program. What we found is that the first point of encounter for a lot of people coming to Nashville is at the airport, and whether they're taking a taxi or taking Uber, but more frequently taxis are readily available. So taxi drivers are kind of our first ambassador to visitors to the community, and tourism is super important for the state of Tennessee. So there was some thought that we need to make sure that every taxi driver speaks English. And what we do at the Foreign Language Institute is first assess the English speaking ability of every candidate for a taxi driving license. So, and that includes native speakers of English. It's not based on where you're from or anything. So it's just kind of a routine, and make sure that their English speaking ability is at a certain level. And then they go through a hospitality training program, which includes some cultural aspects of working with visitors, especially if you're from a foreign country and maybe perhaps haven't understood how to deal with people with disabilities, for example, or how to deal with the elderly. You haven't had that experience in a hospitality industry. You're a good driver, but there are other aspects. Small talk, learning the city, all those things are taught. Map reading, some literacy, issues are addressed. So that it's one of those things that will go a long way to making whoever our visitors are feel more comfortable. Tennessee has been, very forward thinking, like we want to make sure that the experience from the first foot on the ground is a positive one. And so they turn into ambassadors.
That's not your only program, I know.
Right?
And I know you do things with young people, you do things with business people.
Right.
You do things with hobbyists, I don't know if that's the right word or not,
Sure.
but someone who wants to learn a language for fun.
Right. For adults, I think, that's kind of one of the magical markets that we have, because, oftentimes, I'm a perpetual student, for example, but, there aren't too many people that have the luxury of, pursuing classes ongoing, especially if it takes, I have to enroll and register and, get accepted into a program. The Foreign Language Institute is different, so you can come to a class without having to be admitted to a degree-seeking program. You can switch from language to language, and our classes are like 12 weeks, meeting once a week. So it's a good kind of social environment, and then if you're doing it for professional development, even better. We have a lot of people that are finding that I need to speak Spanish in my job, or we're courting business from Japan. What can I do, to at least, have an impact in that area. So we're finding that's one of the things that continues to happen. We offer classes for state government employees as well. They get to take a class for free.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Likewise, we have people learning English. English is a second language. And, we have a large group of people taking those courses, both at our offices in Metro Center, as well as we're working with Hispanic Family Foundation to offer classes. And that's Nolensville Road, where there are a lot of Spanish speakers in that community as well. But we're not limited to just people who speak Spanish, because our English classes are taught in English.
Exactly.
So, you're from, we've got people from Myanmar, from Somalia, from a variety of nations, and learning English and assimilating really quickly. Right.
I think you have a court interpreters program.
Absolutely.
How does that work? What is a court interpreter? And how does that work?
Well, the court interpretation program has a special place in my heart, because that's what brought me to TFLI back in 1999. So they were looking, the state of Tennessee at that point did not have a certification program for state court interpreters. There was no certification required to be in the courts. So they were depending on, well-meaning, primarily Spanish speakers or other languages, but they had really no idea what the skill level was of the people that were interpreting. And if they were lucky, it went really well, and if not, it was not justice. So the state of Tennessee decided we need to fix this problem, and working with a federal grant, we started looking at the best ways to certify court interpreters, and we did some research and working with the Administrative Office of the Courts and came up with a program in which Tennessee participates as a consortium of court certification programs throughout the nation, and we kind of use the same resources. And so there's some reciprocity among states. You know, if you're a court interpreter that's certified in Tennessee, you can potentially work in another state that has a similar certification program. So
That's important.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it provides us with access to folks who could come in languages that are, you know, that we might not have a certified court interpreter available.
We talked about how if English is not my foreign language and I want to improve my English language skills, I can take classes at TFLI to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What about creating more teachers who teach those types of classes? How does that work? Do you do that?
Yes, we do. We have a TESOL, Teaching English as a Second Language program. It's a certification program. It's 150 hours. So it's pretty intensive. It also has a practicum component where the student goes into the community or into our classrooms and practices teaching English, providing that to some of our students and perhaps some folks at different community centers throughout the city. So it's a very hands-on program that will give you skills to either teach English within the community here or go abroad. We have a lot of folks, and oftentimes we have information sessions, and some of those folks who are even teaching abroad will call, Skype in and say, "This is what I'm doing with my TESOL certificate. I'm here in Europe, I'm in Africa, I'm in Russia, I'm teaching English," and just kind of give people the lay of the land, what it looks like for an English teacher who decides they want to travel and go abroad with that certificate. Yeah.
And often, if I'm not mistaken, teachers of English as a second language only speak English.
Correct. That there's no requirement that they speak another language, and it can be done, and people actually learn. You think that, they don't need the translation method, they don't need it back and forth. I mean, it's helpful, I guess, sometimes if you do speak a second language, to make somebody comfortable outside of the classroom setting. You can have a little conversation with them, but it's not necessary.
My name is Jane Pinkston, and I'm an ESL teacher. ESL means English as a second language, and I teach it to students from all over the world.
My name is Uriel Guadarrama. I'm from Mexico, and I'm here, and I'm a student of TFLI. It took me a long time to get here. I heard of TFLI a long time ago, but I thought it was going to be so expensive that it scares me. So I heard on a radio, Hispanic radio, and I made the decision to give them a call. And I found out a totally different thing, that it wasn't like expensive, and when I got here, I mean, it was great.
Okay, it's Wolfgang Friedrich Franz Röder. Started about 3 years ago, Spanish 1.1, which, hola, mi nombre es Wolfgang, and we're now I think I'm in my third year. We're learning Español Latinoamericano. We're learning the Mexican, Venezuelan, the finer details.
My name is Heba Abulsaad. I'm originally from Egypt. I translate and interpret English to Arabic, Arabic to English. I was in the field, in the language field. I was doing several things, but it was including interpretation and translation.
I love the diversity of my students. They are from countries as diverse as Japan, South Korea, Madagascar, Ivory Coast. In Europe, I've had students from France and Germany. I've had students from all over Latin America, South America. They're from everywhere.
But one advantage of growing up in Europe, it's easy to learn a foreign language. I mean, we started taking English in 4th or 5th grade. American Forces Network, Casey Kasem's Top 40 used to be my favorite radio program on Saturdays. When we traveled, I took Italian for enough time to speak Italian while I vacationed there. I dared to take Russian for a year to speak Russian, but never made it to Russia. So when I came to Nashville, I finally had some time to say I need to pick up a third language besides German and English.
When I was mainly in the language field when I was in my country, and when I first came here, I wanted to do something with what I know, and everybody had pointed towards the Tennessee Foreign Language Institute, and I ended up trying to find them and contacted them, and they were very nice, and I just became one of their team.
I just love my students. It makes my day when I can teach a class. And the way we do it here at TFLI is really quite an excellent program for people like me. I was a librarian for 100 years. And after I retired from that profession, I decided, well, I'm kind of bored at home, and I wanted to do something different. So I started volunteering with immigrants and refugees. And when I heard about the certification program here at TFLI in 2012, I went through the TESOL training, Teaching English as a Second Language training, with Erin Lovett, who is the fabulous director of that program. I loved it from the very first minute. We had a wide variety of students in our class. All of us wanted to be teachers. Some of them were very young, and some of them were older, like me. It's not an easy class. Certification is not easy. It's like a college class, but it's so much more fun, so much more fun. And we learned to teach in a certain way that makes a difference in the lives of all these students.
Yes, I've been here only for 4 weeks, and I love it. I mean, I love it since the first time I joined the class. The teachers are great teachers, and the students, you know, it's another great part of the class. They like to participate. They ask questions like I do. And it's a great environment.
And just, I mean, we have a lot of, I love all the students that I've been with. Most of us are past our prime time in picking up a foreign language. That means we're past post-secondary education. So it is harder. And for some people, I'm probably in between. There are people that listen to a language once and pick it up overnight, and there are people that will never get it. And we're battling in the middle, and we've been supporting us very nicely over the last years that we've studied together.
And I love teaching adults. They come with a great motivation to learn the language. They have different reasons for learning the language, especially in this metropolitan area. We have on one end of the spectrum students who are here studying maybe at Vanderbilt or other universities, or who are here representing international companies. So they perhaps have had a great deal of background in learning English already in their own countries. So they come for more language when they get here, more informal language. On the other end of the spectrum, I have taught students who are basically just barely literate in their own native country, not to mention in the United States. They come from third world countries. Their backgrounds sometimes are devastating to find out about. But I teach them all, and they all have one thing in common. They want to speak English.
I was so afraid to make mistakes, to speak in public, to start up a conversation. I had so many things in my mind that were stopping me to speak, because I kind of had some vocabulary, but I was so afraid to speak.
I think with the Arabic speakers, the number of the Arabic speakers increasing in Nashville, it's really becoming good to be here, and good to be around Tennessee Foreign Language Institute, and especially that people are finding lots of resources from Tennessee Foreign Language Institute, helping them with the language, helping them with the translation of forms and different things, and just providing them with some resources in their languages, whether through interpretation or translation. That's making a big difference in their lives.
You know, at the beginning, when I started learning English, I have always hoped to find a better job, which it happened. I studied, English for a few months in Texas. So when I moved into Nashville, I was kind of fluent in English, and that gave me an opportunity to step up to another position. And that was my first goal. Now, I think it's not just for a better job, it's just because I want it. I want it.
I think it's a place where people are feeling also that they are being welcomed home. It's there are everybody is welcoming immigrants. People like diversity here, so it's one of the cities which really attracting Arabic speakers, because there is no limits here. If you don't know the language, they will help you, they will find your resources, you will find resources by yourself. So things are usually great in this city for somebody who's coming from a totally different culture, totally different side of the world, doesn't know the language, doesn't know the customs or the traditions. So it's a great city to be in.
Another thing that people might not know about TFLI is what I appreciate, next to teaching language, teaching foreign language, their involvement in English as a second language. And this might be an unfair political statement, but I think we have a responsibility to incorporate, or not incorporate, what's the word, to include refugees that came here, and one of the biggest stumbling blocks to be a part of the community here is not speaking the language. So I like what TFLI does in that aspect of putting a whole lot of resources and passion into teaching English as a second language.
Para las personas que quieran aprender un segundo idioma, sin importar el idioma que sea, puede ser inglés, en el país que se encuentren, llamas como que hay una conexión entre la otra persona y te anima a tomar la decisión. Es de verdad que yo los invito a que no tengan miedo, anímense. Es muy bonito, es muy divertido. Es bonito rodearte de personas que tienen la misma meta que tú, aprender un segundo idioma. Y eso te llena de energías. Te llena de emociones, te da fuerzas para continuar. Haces buena amistad con los compañeros y con los maestros, es lo divertido.
On public channels like NECAT, we can't solicit funds.
Sure.
But let's talk about funds. And you guys are in an unusual situation, I think not dissimilar to NECAT. NECAT is a nonprofit created by Metro government back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think TFLI, your TFLI Foundation and so forth,
right,
is connected to state government in a way. Could you
right,
speak to that structure?
Yeah, absolutely. We are a state agency. We get a small appropriation from the state of Tennessee. We were established back in 1986. Along the years, I think it was 1991, when we decided we needed a 501c3 as a fundraising arm, mm-hmm, and so also to be able to receive grants more readily, from different sources. So we have our 501c3 is our fundraising arm, and they work together. We're also very dependent on the revenue that we generate from our courses, mm-hmm, and other services such as translation and interpretation. Corporate clients, those help us tremendously, help us fund some of the other services, make them more affordable, for the general public. So.
Okay, my friend, we have now entered the speed round section of the chat. I have a list of questions here, and just like the game we all played when we were kids, I want you to answer the first thing that comes to your mind when I ask you the question. Okay? What word do you say more than any other word at work?
I don't know.
I say that at work all the time.
That's probably it.
What language has the prettiest alphabet?
Arabic.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
What room do you laugh in at work?
In the break room.
What room do you cry in at work?
My office, under the desk, sometimes, yeah.
Have you ever driven the big mobile classroom big language bus?
I have not. No, I don't want to. Afraid.
What mark do you want Tennessee Foreign Language Institute to make on the world?
Dialogue. Creating a dialogue with the world. That's our tagline, and it was like,
I love that.
yeah.
If a songwriter wrote a song about TFLI, what would the hook be?
Oh my, that one's tough. I should know this country music, it's hard to be humble. I don't know. I have no idea. We do good things.
We do good things.
We do good
That's
things.
right. Let's write that
Yep.
song. That's awesome. We do
Yep.
good things. What's the one verb you want people to most associate with TFLI?
Love is what comes to mind, actually.
And how do you say that in Spanish?
Amor.
What's your website?
www.tfli.org.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's great.
Thank you, Trish.
That's great.